And first up on our agenda, I would actually like to call upon our Chief of Police, Chief Hamburger, to introduce Sergeant Cassandra Scott. So over to you, Chief.
Hi, good evening, all.
Good
Thank
evening.
you for having us. It is my absolute pleasure to be introducing to you, and perhaps for some, reintroducing to you, uh, Cassandra Scott, Cassie, that we all know her by, who is our newest sergeant with the Bolton Police Department. So, just to give you a little bit of backstory when I say reintroduce, so Cassie is a NRHS alum and was a graduate of the EMT cadet program. She has previously worked on the Bolton ambulance as an EMT. She interned with us at the Bolton Police Department many years ago, and she actually became a reserve officer with the Bolton Police Department for a couple of years. She was a graduate of the MPTC Boylston Police Academy, which I uh, remember assisting with. So I saw her there as well. And then she took a full-time position with the town of Townsend for a couple of years, and then moved over to our next door neighbors to the east, the town of Stowe, where she was a sergeant for the past couple of years. So I extremely pleased that she has decided to come back home to the town of Bolton and join us again with the Bolton Police Department and help us fill out our supervisor ranks. So I can't say enough good things about her, but I will. Um, she brings a lot of experience to the table. I mean, she's got her bachelor's from Franklin Pierce. She earned her master's, dual master's at Anna Maria and Marist University in both CJ and public administration. She just brings a wealth of knowledge and experience back to our table. So I will turn it over to Cassie.
Hi, thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm just excited to come back to Bolton.
That's great. Well, thank you, Chief, for the lovely introduction. Thank you, Sergeant, for being willing to join the forces here in Bolton and to come back. I know we're all thrilled to have you. I don't know if any other members of the board have anything they wish to say.
I'd like to say welcome back. And among her list of other accomplishments was, I believe she trained EMT cadets, including my daughter Maggie. So welcome back.
Thank you so much. Maggie was wonderful.
Nancy, it's great to have you. Thanks. We appreciate you coming back home.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm excited.
That's great. And I think I saw maybe it was on Facebook pictures of your swearing in. So you're active and on the job already, right?
I just got sworn in and have some training and things like that to do before fully coming on board.
Great.
Great. Well, welcome. Welcome
Thank
back.
you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you. And thank you, Chief, for the overview.
Absolutely, my pleasure. And we are very fortunate to have her back, and we're gonna do some great things and regrow the department, and with Cassie's help and our sergeant corps. So thanks for having us this evening, all.
Great. Thank you all. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Cassie and
Thank
Lou.
you.
Have
Good
a nice
night.
night.
Nice to see
Good
you.
night.
Good night.
Thank you.
All right. That's a great way to start the evening. Next up, we have a few sign requests. I'm going to look to Jenny to help me assess. I know that we're running a little bit early, whether we have folks in the room. I know Mr. Nichols is here who could speak to one of the requests, but Jenny, should we go out of order and take the third? Go ahead.
I think that we should. There's one person I don't know in here, but yeah, I think we should proceed with maybe Jeff Nichols first.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll move backwards.
Yeah, why don't we do that? So just to tee it up for everybody, we have a request from Mr. Nichols regarding an extension of temporary sign approval at First Parish Church, 665 Main Street. And just, I'm sure the members of the board remember, we reviewed images and considered the original request for this temporary sign in 2024. I forget the exact month, but he's back to re-up. So over to you, Mr. Nichols.
Thank you for having me, Brian. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes.
As you said, 3 months ago, we asked for the sign to be put down by the road. You gave us a 3-month trial period. Just two quick notes. One, the program is doing very well. It's averaging about 165 bags per month for the 3 months. In other words, 165 times 3. And the second note is we actually have already moved the sign a little bit up onto the property because of the small snowstorm we had back a couple of weeks ago. We just moved it up off the property, up onto the property a little bit to get it out of the way. So I think you can, wherever it is now, we'd probably leave it for the winter with your permission.
Okay. Any questions from the members of the board?
What's the duration that you're asking for this time, Jeff?
Well, Stan, since it's been successful, I really can't give you a termination point. It just would go until it runs out of steam, basically. As long as the program is working, we'll try to keep it going.
I mean, do we want to set a, 3 months, 6 months kind of a thing and see where things lie?
That's strictly up to you folks.
I'm wondering whether we could basically consider giving it a full year, and then if it's successful and there's a continued need, then we can be sort of in a annual cadence of just reconsidering, so that it's not indefinite, but it's also not you having to come back to us more than once a year. I don't know how Kate and Stan would feel about that.
Yeah, that's fine with me. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't have
okay.
an issue with it being there, and I don't think it needs to be repeatedly coming in front of us for, approvals every couple of months. So I'm good with a year.
Sure, that's fine.
Okay. I'm just quick checking in with Jenny and Marie. Any wrinkle that I'm not aware of that would suggest we shouldn't do a year? No. Okay. Great. Well, in that case, I would entertain a motion to approve the extension of the temporary sign at First Parish Church for a period of 1 year.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, all in favor, roll call. Kate,
Yes.
Stan,
Yes.
and I'm also a yes. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Appreciate it and have a good evening.
All right, you
Thank-
too.
Take care.
Thank you.
evening.
Good night, Jeff.
Good night.
Okay. Next up, let's go back up to the top again of our requests. We will consider a request to place temporary signs at 476 Main Street for yoga studio, and I believe we have Tim Hood here to speak to that request.
Yes, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good,
Hey,
thanks.
Tim, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Excellent.
Yeah, she was just looking to get some temporary signage up. She opened a couple months ago, and she just wants some, like the little picket signs, whatever they're called. I think Jenny had them. She sent them to you, right, Jenny? I hope. But she just wanted to do it for her grand opening and maybe leave them up for a couple weeks to get her business kind of going. Started slow, but she's getting clients here and there and like to push a little bit. And also maybe, I don't know if it's possible to do it again in the spring for a couple weeks just to advertise a little bit.
So first on this particular request, you said a couple of weeks. I was looking through and I'm sorry, I may have missed it, but was there like a specific start and end date that she was looking for?
Oh, sorry. She's having her grand opening next week, next Saturday. So sometime a little before that, maybe for a couple weeks after that would be great.
Okay. And then let's just, I think we would have to actually consider another request in the spring. I
Okay,
don't think we
yeah,
can
that's fine.
approve that now because signs may look different or whatever the
Yeah.
case may be.
No worries.
So other questions from the, sorry, Jenny, are we able to mute that?
Mhm.
Thanks. Thank you. Any other questions from the select board about this request?
Actually, yes. We had, I believe we had some discussion about this in the past relative to some temporary signs for the cannabis operation. Isn't that stretch of 117 and the easement controlled by the state, not the town of Bolton?
For a certain property, I think it's 15 feet up or something like that from the road. And I think there's still room after that, but I'm not positive on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with doing it, but I know we had some discussion relative to whether or not we have the ability to grant such a request, given that that stretch of 117 is under the control of the state, not the town of Bolton,
Okay.
and any easement. Marie, do you have anything more? I know this came up
Right,
when
I
all the
think-
signs came up.
Right, I think for the cannabis, the board had approved a conditional upon this being okay with DOT. So leaving
Okay.
it to the applicant to, navigate your own DOT fund.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I'm fine with it, but yeah, just want to make sure that
Okay, yeah, I'll check
Well,
in with them. for
yeah.
Sure.
And would it make sense for us to approve it maybe through the end of February? Gives 5 or 6 weeks.
That'd be great. I mean,
Sure.
Yeah, what I was gonna suggest is if we approve tonight, obviously it's sort of on you to check in with DOT to make sure it's they're okay with it. But as far as I'm concerned, if we approve tonight, then whenever she wants to put them up is good, and then through the end of February, I think is
Okay.
is a great idea.
All
So
right.
we just need a motion to that effect. So is there a motion to approve, conditional, of course, upon DOT not objecting?
Well, is end of February enough for you, Tim, or would you like
yeah,
more?
that's good for now, for sure. And like I said, maybe in the spring when she starts a whole new clientele, hopefully, we get a lot more traffic that time to get
Okay,
people
okay.
to see it would be great too.
sounds good.
Awesome.
Well, I will make a motion to approve the placement of temporary signs at 711 to 713 Main Street through the end of February 2025, contingent on approval from Mass DOT.
It's not 711, 713. That's
Oh, sorry,
yeah.
sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. 476 Main Street for yoga studio.
I will second that.
Great. Okay. Roll call. Kate,
Yes.
Stan.
Yes.
I'm also a yes. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Tim. Have
Appreciate
a good
it.
night.
All right,
Good
have a
night.
good
Too.
night.
Thank you.
Okay, and then finally, we have another temporary sign request at 711 to 713 Main Street. We have Mr. Bovaird to speak to that one. Oh, sorry, we're having trouble hearing you for some reason. Give it a minute. While we're waiting, I will just apologize in case you hear ambient noise in my household. It is the bedtime routine, which can get a little pre-bedtime routine, which can get a little noisy up in here.
Been there, done that years ago. So
And if you hear snoring on my end, I promise it's not me. It's my dog. I promise.
Honestly, though, there's nothing better in the world than a snoring dog next to you. Oh, thank you,
Can
Jenny.
you hear me now?
Oh, there we go. Yes.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
So you're all aware that we did erect a sign, total naivete on our behalf. Didn't realize we had to come before the town for that approval. It is a temporary sign. It's more informational to let people know what's going on than anything. You know, I hear you talking about timelines. We're probably about a year out to complete. So I guess that we would request that it be there for that duration unless, you know, you rule it should be less than that.
I just had one quick question, and I'm sorry, Jenny, I didn't have a chance to flag this for you earlier, but was there an image included in our packet and I just didn't see it? Or do we have an image of I know it's there already, but
Yeah, Craig had trouble sending it to me.
okay.
Oh, Jenny, I thought you got that. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
But
It,
the sign is in conformance with the dimension regulations that we have in place.
dimensions are, hang on one sec.
Yeah, I think it meets the requirements.
I think it was 6 by 4.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
70, yeah.
Yeah. And it's actually two signs. It's the one for Ebenezer Town farm, and it's also Craig, for your daughter's operation. She has a temporary sign in front of
Right.
one of the buildings. So that's actually two signs. But yeah, I'm fine with both of them. I'm fine with both of them.
And just a caveat, the one sign for the Ebenezer Town Farm, Mike Savageau went by and took a look at it and deemed that because it's in the ground, it will need a sign permit through the building department. Craig did go ahead and submit the application, so that's in progress. So if you could make your approval conditional upon the receipt of the sign permit, that'd be great.
For the larger sign, yeah.
For the larger sign, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Kate, any questions?
No,
Well, I will just say the project looks like it's coming along great. It's really fun
That's
to watch
great.
the progress.
We're finally getting some traction, thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It turned out to be a lot bigger than we ever expected, but when we're all said and done, we're going to be we are going to be very happy. I hope the town will be as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there for when you placed the wreath on the
Yes.
barn, so that was great. It was
Thank
great.
you, man. We actually we got a great video of that event. I can share it with you guys if you'd like. Really came out great. I put it to Beethoven's Sixth Symphony, first movement, and it's just perfect.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, okay, could we get a motion on these two signs? And I'm gonna let Kate channel her inner creativity to word this one.
all right, I will make a motion to approve the placement of the temporary signs at 711 to 713 Main Street for the period of 1 year, subject to the receipt of an approval on the larger sign from the building department.
I will second that.
Okay, roll call. Kate,
Yes.
Stan,
Yes.
and I'm also a yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a
Thanks,
good
Craig.
evening.
Thank you very much. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
We'll
Good
follow the rules next time.
No problem.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. All right. Now we are on to the next section of our agenda, which is we're going to get an update on a few things, as well as a fee discussion with our chief of the fire department, Chief Legendre. I see that he has joined. He may have stepped away for a moment, but Jenny, there we go. Hi, Chief.
Good evening. Sorry, I had to work the iPad for a second.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. I will let you take it from here.
Okay. So we just wrapped up calendar year 2024. The department responded to 1,389 calls for service. Again, we see an uptrend. That's a 9% increase over last year, which we ended at 1,265. Can attribute that to we picked up another complete town for ALS service, being Berlin. Instead of just having half the town, we now have the full town of Berlin. So we did see an uptrend with that, and the ALS program is still up and strong, and continuing to build throughout the area. Going back a little bit to when we first started the program, or we were first talking about it in 2019, we had estimated, or I had estimated, that we were going to be going up to Lancaster about 200 times, about 100 times in Harvard, and about 140 times in Bolton itself, making it an ALS call to save us. In 2024, we went to Lancaster 295 times, Harvard 93, so we're just a little shy. But the ones we did not account for, we went to Berlin 126 times, Clinton 15. We've been to Hudson, Shirley. So we're seeing the numbers trend up to what we thought, and we're hitting the markers that were estimated back in 2019 when we started this program. So the success is working really well. We have great staff. We now have a couple of years, a good set of round-the-clock coverage that has been proving good for our response times. We're meeting our NFPA goals of 90%, being 5 minutes or under. So we are maintaining those and looking to move to some other projects moving forward. Any questions on that piece of it?
Not for me at this time.
Okay.
Well, actually, Chief, yes, relative to the program, I know when you came before us back in 2019 and 2020, there were some expectations of you know, obviously better response and service and the like, but also there seemed to have been, at least in my recollection, an assumption of you know, some increased revenue streams. When we were looking at when it became apparent that we were going to have some difficulties with the FY26 budget, I had asked, you know, what are in some of the revolving accounts and whether or not we might be able to tap a little bit more. And back in October, Nanachka let me know that it was about $112,000 in the combined ALS and ambulance receipt account. And I thought that was a little low, considering that the last time we bought an ambulance was about 3 years ago. As of January, when I talked to Nanachka recently in preparation for this meeting, there's about 155,000 in that account. Now, so assuming that we're going to then, as we have done in the past, appropriate, you know, $75K to help fund the fire EMS operation. It doesn't seem as if we're growing that account sufficiently enough when probably in the next couple of 3 years you're going to be needing or requesting a new ambulance. So are the costs of the program more than you had anticipated? Because I would have expected after, you know, 3 years of after buying the ambulance that there would have been more money in that account than the 112 or 155K that we have here. And also, as we've talked in the past, in terms of you know, billings and receivables, we're still floating around close to $500,000 of outstanding receivables, and that has been fairly consistent from July through December of this year. So, I mean, can you comment on that?
Returns keep going up. To give you an idea, in FY22, we cleared 300, brought in on credit, $330,000. This past year is close to 400,000, 397,000. As you said, 75 goes over to to the fire department budget annually. So clearing that plus everything to do with the ALS count, we're paying for a paramedic 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When we started off, we were only covering 12 hours. We're up to 24 in covering the station. It's not going to be, you're correct, and we're not finishing it, filling it as quickly, but the coverage and what we're able to respond with a response 1 to 5 minutes, that's where we are now. I am proposing, which we'll get to, a increase, because we haven't increased our ambulance rates since 2021. Discuss that to hopefully make some impact on that. And the fire department fees as well haven't been touched since 2008. So these are two things that I'm hoping to bring in to increase that. The last ambulance we purchased was for $200,000, 225 total. Right now, ambulances are for $450. So I understand the concern that it's not there, but the service, and we're still in the positive by covering the town with the ALS program, is where we are right now.
Yeah, no, I applaud the fact that, you know, the response time is great, the coverage is great, but you know, 4 years ago, it wasn't expressly talked about as an either or, you know, either, you know, better response and better coverage or less revenue. You know, we've been able to grow that account, that revolving account, but it seems like we're a little bit stagnant right now, because once we take the 75 out, you're down to, you know, 85K. So it's like we're kind of treading water. You know, we're always going to be at this, you know, 150, 155, 175K level. It's not incrementing. So, you know, just to check on, you know, is it costing more, or to your point, perhaps, you know, raising some of the rates will help. But also I'm a little concerned about the, you know, the almost continued $500,000 in outstanding receivables. And, you know, we've had conversations in the past about that, and, you know, what we might be able to do to up that, or you know, get those fees collected.
We are still at 90+% collection rate. Some of those accounts do date back to 2015, 2016. They can be written off, but we're looking at almost 10 years in that.
Yeah.
Which I understand absolutely understand your point with that, and we can look at that in a closer years, what we can do and what we can collect and get that number.
Okay, great. Yeah, and to your point, I was looking at price of ambulances, and it has gone up dramatically over the last few years. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, and right now they're telling us 2.5 to 3 years, where the last one was 8 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. So would you like to move on to the fees?
Please, sure.
Okay. So currently, pretty much all the fire department fees, and these are specifically to the fire department, so smoke detector inspection, underground tanks, and such, we're currently charging $25. That has not changed since prior to 2008. 2008 was the last time I could put my finger on that it was moved to that percentage. It would take a vote from the Board of Selectmen under Chapter 148, 10A to move that to $50. As a strong chief, I can only move to 25, but with your affirmative vote, we can move all those to $50, which actually $50, checking with the area towns, is what everybody else is getting. I can tell you that I have several realtors that call, like, you still are charging $25. They're kind of surprised at that. So that is one avenue we can do, and I would ask the board if you're comfortable to move the permit fee to $50. for all fire department related permits moving forward is number one. And as I said, Stan, looking at the rates, we haven't moved since 2021. Looking at Medicare, the percentages have gone up. I'm matching that. Moving a BLS rate from 1385 to 1525, ALS 1 from 1792 to 1975, ALS 2 from 3070 to 3377. The extra EMT, if needed, 30 EMT will remain at 150. Mileage is currently 30, move to 37. ALS Intercept 325 to 350. Keeping that same percentages up and down, I think would be a fair move in the amount of years that we haven't made any changes. And hopefully that would help with the gap.
Yeah, I'm personally, I'm fine with that. I'm all in favor of raising some of the fees. It's to your point, it's been a while.
Yeah. If we look at, you know, the hourly rates and what the fire department's tied up for manpower, that's more in line with the hours for that service.
Just to go back on the timing of the last change, I want to make sure I understood. So for the exhibit that you provided on the permit change from 25 to 50, I think I heard you say the last time we revisited that was in 2008.
That's the last paperwork that I can find. It was established in 2008, was $25.
Yeah, and then for the ambulance rates, that was more recent. That was like within the past 5 years, right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I also tend to be in favor of this as well. Kate, any reactions?
No, I'm in favor of raising the fees. I'm just wondering, Chief, whether you had any projections with the increased ambulance rates as to what that might look like year over year.
Specifically, I'd be looking at should be about 20% more. If we got to always mix in Medicare and private insurance, and I'd say conservatively would see probably about a 20%.
And then just going forward, how often is it appropriate to review the ambulance rates? Is that something we should do annually, every 2 years? What's reasonable?
Reasonable with my peers, it's anywhere between 3 and 5 years. Seems that the people are changing. I think what we're doing now would be on track with that move. The 3 on the sooner end of that, giving the service and what we're looking to do. We have never changed the ALS since we've started it. So it's time to do that. And then looking at the other ones, and then annually the neighboring communities put up, we have a survey, and it seems every 3 to 5 is kind of a change is happening. We're in that cycle now.
Okay, and then just one last question. Did I read somewhere that the $50 fees on the permits, that's the maximum that's allowable, right? So that's not something we have to review periodically unless the law changes?
That's correct. Yeah, there's only 6 or more. You can charge a little bit more. I think that may come into play when 580 main comes up, but that's all set already with fees. So we should be good. Our typical 1 and 2 families, we should not see an impact beyond that unless the law changes. You're correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So unless Marie or Jenny says there's any reason we can't just go ahead and vote on this tonight, I'm seeing, okay, sounds like we can. Why don't we first have a motion on adjusting the permit fees, and then have a separate motion on adjusting the ambulance rates.
Can the motion just be to approve the fees that are outlined in our packets, or do we have to be more specific?
I think you can just say just say going to $50 as outlined in our packets.
Okay, then I will make a motion that we approve an increase in the permit fees from $25 to $50 as outlined in our package.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call. Kate,
Yes.
Stan,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. And then actually, Kate, for this next one, I do think just the way that I would phrase the motion is making a motion to approve the newly proposed fees of, and then read the 6 numbers for each of the 6 categories. I think it's important to just have that be part of the motion.
Okay, then I will make a motion to approve revised ambulance rates as follows. BLS to $1,525, ALS 1 to $1,975, ALS 2 to $3,377, extra EMT to $150, mileage to $37, and ALS intercept to $360.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call. Kate,
Yes.
Stan,
Yes.
I'm also a yes. And then Chief, let's just, since it's 2025, let's make sure that at least by 2028, we get you back on the calendar to discuss the ambulance rates again.
Okay.
Perhaps before we let the chief go, I mean, one of the things in terms of the update, maybe you can just give us a couple of seconds on how the EMT cadet program's coming along.
The EMT cadet program, they are currently in the first responder portion of the training. They'll be switching over to the EMT portion. They're working with Harvard on the program. The vehicle has been down most of the year, looking for replacement at this time. Kind of looking for secondhand items. I've struck out with any municipal fines, put it out on Municipid, find Municipid. Anything we are currently finding is very beat up already, and we'd be looking for something new. So the director in the schools, they are working on a plan to use some of the cadet revolving account in a match or a donation for a vehicle so they can get back up on the road.
I know that they might have made a request to see whether or not they might be able to use the pickup truck. Is that a possibility for a short term?
We use that vehicle on a daily basis. It's used for inspections. It's used to have, if we have an incident, to pick up equipment, to haul a trailer with the gator if need. Is it an option? Yes, but I really would choose not to, because we'd have to run down to high school and get it if there were an emergency we needed it for. So that's where we are at this point.
Okay. Is there a trailer hitch on the I don't know if it's Suburban or Tahoe, whatever the big Chevy, the bright red Chevy? Is there a trailer hitch on that?
This trailer hitch is on that, yes.
Okay.
But it's the weight of the trailer and the gator is not matched to those vehicles.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions for the chief this evening?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Okay,
All right, well, thank you so much for being here tonight.
thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Chief.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Okay, let me just scrolled way too far down into our packet. I think that next up we have the town administrator report.
Alright.
Hi.
Hi. All right. Just a snippet, because there have been some impressive wins on projects. 580 Main, as you've noticed, if you drive by, is continuing along. The construction agent, as well as the building inspectors, have been at the site multiple times. And I've been following up with Wood Partners because I'm trying to advance the linkage payments that were to be distributed in the ZBA conditional permit At the point of the certificate of occupancy, Rebecca and the MVP folks could really use those earlier. So we're dancing on that. We're making progress. For Derby Field, another amazing project under the conservation agent, 14 bid packages were pulled. I provided the plan holders list to the select board. At the site, if you're around on Tuesday at 1:30, there's a non-mandatory bidder site walkthrough, and bids are due at the end of January. In my conversations with their bidding, I was going to say bidding agent, but we're looking at ideally making a determination of bidder by the second week of February. The next three projects all involved a lot of assistance either in their nascent stages or ongoing from Representative Kate Hogan. I just wanted to point that out. For the Route 117 culvert, Green International had been on site today. Perhaps you saw them if you were driving on 117. And that project, which is advancing on the MADOT TIP plan, will have a formal sit-down meeting with Mass DOT. The representative was helping us to secure the initial design and engineering. For the Forbush Mill Road stream crossing improvements, FEMA has awarded Bolton $893,000. It's a reimbursable construction, and we'd received notice of this in late December. Kudos likewise to the director, DPW Director Heglin. And the DCAM land authorization had cleared the House of Representatives, had been bundled with two other seemingly non-controversial pieces of legislation, and the clock ran out in the last legislative session. So we're back at it again. When I met with the representative, she had acknowledged her willingness to be a sponsor. This is for the parcels of land abutting the soccer field or abutting, the soccer area. And she and her staff have scrambled. I've also, or perhaps I hadn't, my bad, but I will append and send on the revised language. It is basically what had been approved at the town meeting. This went through a few edits in the Senate, stripping out things saying this is not required to follow 30B practices, and then updating the date by which we need to make a determination to December 31st of 2026. The roundabout, no date set yet for pre-construction. I'm pestering Randy because I know members on the school building committee are equally eager to find out. And Bolton has again been successful in receiving additional monies in the rural apportionment. Our share of that was an additive 117,000. We still have two vacancies for which we're seeking employees and applicants. One is the labor at the transfer station. The other is due to a resignation. The children's librarian position is available. And as you're all aware, the police department under Chief Hamburger continues their active recruitment. And as you've also noticed, he's bringing in amazing candidates. On the budget, there's a bunch to say. So I tried to figure out what to say, just to let folks know. In terms of refinement, we're keeping an eye on our health insurance, which we're carrying 12%. This could go down to as low as 8%. For all of our other assessments, the NVRDD assessment, as well as the Worcester Regional, those are pretty much set. We're not waiting on new information, with the exception of perhaps waiting to see if the state gives us $2,000 more or $2,000 less. But our projection is that it's going to just be level. As folks saw last night, the high school's second 80 million bond tranche is still on track for February. Although the superintendent had framed the discussion last night as preliminary, in follow-up conversations with him today, he relayed a high degree of confidence that that would be Bolton's capital debt assessment, give or take one or two children, but they're projecting, based on their information from bond counsel, that the dollars presented for our capital assessment will be indeed our capital assessment. something that I want to start doing actively is to have public sessions to convey information regarding the fiscal 26 budget. People have wondered why on the town side, if the overall town budgets, this is for general government, public safety, public works, human services, and culture and recreation, are only increasing 0.112%. Why is there a need for an override? And so I was going to reach out. I know that there are, upon direction from members in advisory and other members in the community, to have a more budget intensive coffee with the town administrator, or perhaps even open office hours. I'm interested in getting any of the feedback from the ward. So that's it.
I think that's a really good idea, Maria. I'm glad you're being proactive in that regard, and happy. I think we're all happy to provide feedback, as you mentioned preliminary planning for those sessions, but I think we're all happy to provide feedback.
Great.
Just wanted to acknowledge that this is a hard year, but also there's a ton of really great work that's happening, and I think you touched on a lot of it. And also just say thank you again to Representative Hogan for her help with a lot of those projects that you talked about. Okay, next up. Well, quickly, were there any other questions for Marie about her town administrator report at this time?
For me, I'm good.
I actually did have a question on the, sorry, my dogs are going to be barking. Stop. I had a question on the Forbush Mill grant that we got. Was that unexpected? Was that, how much of that project is that going to cover?
This is for covering the construction. It has, I want to say, a 3-year, I'd have to double check, expenditure timeframe. And Randy is excited by this. So I don't know, but given that he's not worried about it, or not, he worries, but he's not unduly concerned. I'm feeling good. I will find out though what our projected construction expense had been. So, yeah.
And what was the funding source for it?
It was FEMA, and the initial design work was from 400K, I want to say, secured by Representative Hogan.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
the money we received from FEMA, the federal FEMA, was a great win. Thank you, federal.
All right, great.
Okay, well, now we're rolling right into our select board business. Any public service announcements from you two?
Not for me, not tonight.
Okay, none from me either. Select board reports. Thank you for making sure that we had an item for me to give it an update on my discussions with our school committee members about the fiscal picture for this upcoming year. So after our, I guess it was the meeting before Christmas, December 19th, hard to forget, right? Okay, I'm looking at you, Kate. After that meeting, I reached out to Amy Cohen, who is our longest current serving member of the school committee and also the vice chair, just to go through what the situation is and to express, I think, what we all agreed was a need for cooperation, shared sacrifice, shared problem solving. So I can tell you that she heard that, took it to heart loud and clear, and has expressed a number of times that she wants to be engaged in helping to the extent she can kind of position the upcoming vote for all of the residents of Bolton so that they understand what's at stake. And actually, on a related note, I did just want to say a special shout out to Amy for some help behind the scenes trying to find solutions to the cadet car issue as well. So Thank you, Amy, for that. And then I don't know if you both had an opportunity to watch last night's meeting or review any of the materials that were, sorry for folks at home, this is the meeting of the school committee last night when they do their initial presentation of the entire budget for the fiscal year. And they, as part of that meeting, had materials, including a slide deck with all of the budgets and the overall assessment impact. So for those of you who were not there, you should know that at this point in their budget process, the overall increase in their operating budget was, call it a 10% increase. But then the way that trickles down into the member communities as of last night, when you combine the operating piece with the capital piece, and I'm sorry, I don't have this right in front of me, but I think it was a roughly 22% overall year-to-year increase for Bolton. Marie, I think you may have tuned in, but it was like 22%, right?
For Bolton, including the debt, it's a 20.38. I printed it out. I'm not.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, great. So that's the update as far as I have at the moment. Questions, Stan or Kate?
Well, yes, I watched the meeting in its entirety and downloaded the stuff, and obviously they're at the beginning stages. One, I was a bit disappointed that they basically threw everything in the kitchen sink into the budget as their initial go around. I think it's important to as we move forward with this. And one thing, Ken Troop, I've had some conversation with Ken Troop on another matter in the last number of days, and he reminded me that the last time that Bolton had a override on the annual town meeting warrant was 2005, and apparently that override failed. So, looking at what we have been discussing, where in a perfect world where the school budget doesn't go up at all, we might be looking at about $1 million worth of override that we're going to have to ask the voters. If you look at the current budget, which is, I'll use round numbers, $30 million is our total budget. 66% of that is the schools, which includes Neshoba and Minuteman. And that 66% is about 19,800,000. That leaves 34% or 10,200,000 for everything in Bolton. At a minimum, with $1 million override, if that fails, we're going to have to cut 9.8% out of the budget. And it just gets worse as we go through. We've plugged in a number of 4% right now in our budget, which is $700,000. That combined with the $1 million that we already have as a deficit, so $1.7 million override, if it fails, means we have to cut almost 17% of the town budget out if it fails. So what I'm suggesting is we are in unprecedented territory right now. I would suggest, and perhaps with Marie might, whether she agrees or willing to do it, I really think that the whoever else would like to participate, I think either Stowe and Lancaster or whomever we can get, I think the 2 or 3 towns need to get together and have a discussion, because the pain right now, I'm looking at the assessments for all 3 of the towns right in front of me, and the gross dollar numbers are similar for all three towns. So I would imagine all three towns are experiencing or going to be experiencing similar pain to either more or lesser extent. I think we as the three towns involved in the regional district, I think we need to get together and have some conversations on how we as collectively want to approach this. And have the select board, the town administrators, and the finance committees get together and have some discussions on how we want to approach this. Because even in a perfect world with nothing from the school, I can't see how we can, if the override fails, how we can justify cutting 10% out of the town budget. I have no idea where that would come from. And that's the best possible scenario if the override fails. So I would ask if we could get some of those meetings set up, at least to have some initial discussions and how we're collectively going to approach this.
Stan and Maria, I'd invite you to weigh in too, but as an initial meeting, because I agree we probably do need to have a meeting of the minds on this. As an initial meeting, Stan, are you thinking of the town administrators and the select boards and then the FinComs optionally, sort of like a tri-town?
Oh yeah, I would say something like a tri-town, but I think I don't know how the other two towns work their finance committees and how they work things, but I think everyone needs to get educated on what's going on and what the pain points are from the other towns, and I think collectively how we approach the district. My breath was taken away when I saw the presentation yesterday in terms of what the ask is for.
Mhm.
I mean, it's unprecedented the amount of increase that they're asking for. That coupled with the debt for the new school, which we've only seen the tip of the iceberg for that. And to Marie's point, people are asking, well, if the arts are only going up 0.0001%, why do we need $1 million override? And we need to have some good explanations for that.
Okay, well, I guess what I will do is I'll take this particular suggestion offline, and Marie, you and I can chat about trying to set something up. Okay. Anything else before we move off of school board reports? Sorry, select board reports. Okay. We had earlier seen the draft of the employee manual. Marie, I'll let you tee this one up.
Sure. I had just wanted to provide more detail on the town's policies sort of at an operational level. What folks are currently using are either the bylaws or obviously for those individuals in a collective bargaining agreement, the CBA. I just wanted something that was more of a reference for our staff so that they would understand, well, what benefits do I have? And, what are the expectations that the select board has for me as an employee? I'm 99.9% sure that I've incorporated all of the edits that I've received from the select board. Jenny had sent out a copy of the manual under separate cover. And tonight I would seek the board's approval to have this as the Bolton employee manual, which would then be posted on the employee intranet and used as a reference and resource for staff.
Kate or Stan, questions about the materials?
Yeah, did a new draft come out? Because I don't know that I've seen one since the original one that I commented on.
This is where I have the searching look towards Jenny.
I believe I sent it to all three of you yesterday. Did the other two select board members receive it?
I'm
Let me
looking
take a look.
to see whether I got something yesterday, because I don't think I did
Yeah,
either.
I saw that you said that you would be sending it, but I didn't see that anything actually came through for me at least.
And let me see
Well,
if it's in my draft folder. Yes, it is in my draft folder. Should we defer this to the next meeting, Marie?
I
Yes,
defer to the pleasure of the board.
Yeah,
think we
let's do
should.
that. Let's do that.
Yeah, I'd just like to be able to take a quick look and see
Okay.
what the changes were.
okay, we have a meeting in 2 weeks, so. And then future agenda items discussion. Stan or Kate?
I don't have anything right now.
No, no. Oh, just going back to the suggestion for the three towns, we should do that as soon as possible, if it can be arranged. I don't think that can wait.
Then next up, we have approved bills / payroll warrants W24-14, W24-14A.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills and payroll warrants W24-14 and W24-14A.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call. Kate,
Yes.
Stan,
Yes.
and I'm also a yes. And then I believe we have, and hopefully Jenny can pull them up, but we have minutes from the December 5th and December 19th regular session with some edits that we will probably be able to see illustrated on the screen. Okay, so these are the minutes for the December 5th meeting. Can you just magnify that a tiny bit, Jenny? Thank you. Great.
The older you get, the more it needs to be magnified.
Yeah. Okay. And then December 19th. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the December 5th and the December 19th minutes.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call. Kate,
Yes.
Stan,
Yes.
and I am a yes as well. And then the next thing we're going to do is to enter into executive session. But before we do that, I just want to confirm something with Jenny. We can say now that we will adjourn. We'll enter back into regular session briefly just for the purpose of adjournment. See your head nodding. Okay. So just so everybody knows, we will enter this executive session after the motion, but we'll reconvene in open session just for the purpose of adjournment. So is there a motion to enter executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Purpose 3, to conduct strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation with Police Union Local 286 Massachusetts Coalition of Police, IUPA AFL-CIO, Fire Union Teamsters Local 170, DPW Union, AFS CME Council 93 AFL-CIO, because an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body.
So moved.
I will second that.
Okay, roll call, Kate,
Yes.
Stan,
Yes.
and I'm also a yes. And time for the record is 8:05 p.m.